Dear countrymen, this is 1986 and the 6th of February. On this same day, 5 years ago, 27 of us left in a lorry from my house, the house in which I was staying in Makindye, and went to attack Kabamba. We had directed the target carefully, and we knew what was going on inside the barracks. We managed to deceive one businessman into giving us his lorry, which could accommodate us as well as cover us from public view, because we left in the evening around 6 o'clock. That lorry was obtained by deception by one of us by the name of Rutaya. We went with that lorry and one or two other vehicles up to Kabamba, where two companies of Tanzanians and 1,400 Ugandan trainees were stationed. The Tanzanians were training the Ugandans. There was a big armory there, underground, which contained a lot of rifles. Those were our targets. But unfortunately, one of us fired a bullet prematurely, and one Tanzanian corporal went underground in the armory, because the armory is underground. The armory at Kabamba was underground. He went in the armory, and it was difficult to get him out. But nevertheless, we captured the barracks, the whole barracks, the quarter guard, the MTO yard, that is the motor transport yard, the signal center and the administrative center. We took control of the whole barracks, and all the Tanzanians who were there and the Ugandans ran away. But we did not get to the main target, which were the guns underground. We however managed to get vehicles from the MT yard, as well as some other guns from the houses of the officers and of the soldiers. And we left Kabamba by a fleet of vehicles through Chenjojo, through Bugangezi and Buyaga, up to Chiboga, thereby establishing our first base in the war of liberation against the regime of Obote. Now, since that time, our army has grew, until it became the force which you see here now. We defeated 16 enemy offensives in the area of Mubende, Ruwero, and part of Mpigi. We defeated 16 offensives by Obote trying to dislodge us. In the end, we caused the downfall of the Obote regime, because the coup of 27th of July 1985 was a direct outcome of our efforts. Because of defeating those 16 offensives, some officers of the UNLA and soldiers thought that it was better to remove Obote and reach a settlement with us. Unfortunately, their efforts were thwarted by cunning elements who wormed their way into the military council and denied the young men who had staged the coup the opportunity to talk with us frankly. I'm here referring to elements like Basilio and some other opportunistic elements who wormed their way into the military council, thereby making it impossible for the young boys, the captains and the majors and the NCOs and the soldiers who had staged the 27th of July coup, denying them the opportunity to discuss honestly with us. So from that humble beginning, 5 years ago, we were able to build this force which defeated 16 offensives by the Obote army. At some of the times, Obote employed as much as 80% of his forces in the whole country against us. By the coup of 27th July 1985, our army had destroyed at least 300 vehicles of the Obote government of all types. Soft cover vehicles, armored vehicles, helicopters, and so on and so forth. As you all know, after that, we declared a unilateral ceasefire. We stopped shooting at the Okero group which came in order to give them a chance to reach a peaceful settlement with us. Instead of doing that, they went ahead and started doing things unilaterally, ignoring us completely, until on the 24th of August, we decided to launch a limited offensive against them, which resulted in the liberation of Kasese and Fort Potro, and in the liberation of Kiboga, and in attacks on Busunju, Matuga, and Ruero. After that limited offensive, the Okero group and the Amin elements who had allied themselves with that group agreed to talk with us in Nairobi. But their talking with us was not honest, it was dishonest. They were playing tricks. Because while they were talking with us in Nairobi, at the same time they were importing massive supplies of arms. At the same time they brought up to 20,000 or more Amin soldiers from Sudan and tried to use them to thwart the liberation of the people of Uganda. Now, because of those tricks, we again launched another offensive on the 12th of September 1985. This time we attacked Mubende, Mbarara, and eventually we attacked Masaka and came up to Katonga River. Now, on the Katonga River, mighty battles were fought. In fact, the Battle of Kampala was fought at Katonga. Many people did not realize this. We decided to destroy the enemy at Katonga so that by the time we come in Kampala, he will be very weak. And we did it very successfully because the enemy launched 7 major offensives against us along the Katonga River, mainly on 2 prongs. The main prong is to come through the main road, that is Mpiji, Kampiringisa, Kamengo, up to Kayabwe and Katonga. Then the subsidiary prong would come through Kaburasoke, Kanoni, up to Bugomala. We defeated both prongs, as well as the western prong, which was supposed to go from Hoima, cross river, the river there, River Mpanga, and attack Fort Potro and attack us from the rear. We defeated all those. Now, again, it is the same army which started with the 27 people on this same day 5 years ago, which was able to achieve all that. Because of defeating the enemy attempts along the Katonga River, the Okero group came to the conclusion that they had to reach a peace agreement with us in Nairobi. But even then they were not honest, because while they were talking of peace in Nairobi, as you all heard, Tito Okero said that I was a sarambwa, that is to say a dangerous snake, whose teeth had been removed. They thought that the agreement was a means to neutralize us, so that they could do whatever they wanted with the people of Uganda. And indeed they did it. In Kampala here, they massacred people. In Mpiji area, they massacred people. In Masindi, they massacred people. All under the slogan that Museveni's teeth have been removed, there's nothing he can do for you, so we can do whatever we want with you, meaning the people of Uganda.
I was told, I dreamed when I was still couple, that I will become the highest man in the armed forces, general, and also I will be president of this country. And it happened. You see,
and you have any other dreams in the last little while? I mean, have you had any dreams about anything that's going to happen in the world or any other things that are happening around?
It comes to me from time to time. And,
Idi Amin, one of the most colorful and outrageous rulers in the world today. With a brilliant understanding of power, he rules Uganda by a simple yet effective method. He has wiped out all opposition. There's a certain charm to the man. Yet the Chief Justice of the Supreme Court was dragged from the bench and murdered by Amin's army. His second foreign minister was found floating in the Nile. The most troublesome of his 4 wives was found hacked to pieces in the trunk of a car. Thousands have fled into exile. And up to 80,000 have been murdered.
That everybody, they loves me, and therefore I am one of their hero, the hero in the country, and therefore everybody is responsible for my security. I am not afraid because I know exactly how and when I will die. This I know. I dreamed when I was still couple that I will become president of this country, and it happened.
Rich leaders who've gone into exile?
No, I am not rich. I am one of the poor leader in the world, and my intention is to work for my people, but not for me. That is the reason why, you know, that if you check all banks all over the world, in Europe, in Asia, in Africa, in the United States of America, you will never find account belong to me, because I work for the people of Uganda. I am a founder of the economic independence of Uganda.
Do you wake up sometimes and feel, you know what, this is too much for me. This is too much. You don't feel appreciated enough.
It doesn't matter, because I'm not working for, I'm working for myself. I'm not working for other people. I'm working for my grandchildren, for my children.
These confused fellows of ours, the foreigners, who are shallow, they are not serious. They were analyzing. There's a high turn-up. You had in the BBC and this other Arab channel called Al Jazeera, which is also a problem apparently. This high turn-up in Uganda, and this high turn-up is like to favor Bobby Wine. They think youth is just biology. They don't know that youth is biology, but also ideology. Now, the youth have turned up in big numbers. MUSESEVEN has got 6 million votes. Bobi Wine has got 3 million and something. So, where did, if all the youth voted for Bobi Wine, then how did MUSESEVEN get all these votes? Shallow, shallow, shallow. Not serious, but also indisciplined. Why do you go into people's affairs? Africans, we don't have that culture. To go into somebody's house and start, this chair should be here. I can't do it. Even if the chair is bad, the place, I will pretend not to see it and go. They have like a barbarian culture of Buyaism, actually. Don't talk about things you don't know. The majority of the youth support the NRM, and the number is going to increase. Yes, Bobi Wine and others are young. Of course, I don't think even somebody of 40 is young. By the age of 40, if you are young, then that means you are stunted. The youth are 18, 19, those are the ones you call youth. You cannot say a middle-aged man, Mshisha wa Hamia, the Wanyankore, they don't even have the language. Youth. A man of 40, 38. It's not a youth. This is Mshisha wa Hamia, according to the Wanyankore. From 35 to 50, the Wanyankore is Mshisha wa Hamia. Umtsigazi, the youth is from maybe 16 to about maybe 25. Beyond that, you are a Umsheja, you are a man. But anyway, the youth need capital. And we shall get the capital. Because we have the money, we have the tax money, but the money is being misbudgeted. This will no longer happen.
To vote. We saw millions of Ugandans lined up to vote in different areas across the country. It was definitely unprecedented. Thank you very much for accepting our message to turn up in large numbers and vote. Thank you for taking seriously, very seriously, matters pertaining our country, Uganda. I also want to appreciate all the citizens for voting for change. I have no doubt in my mind that the vast majority of you Ugandans voted for change yesterday. It was indeed a protest vote against General Museveni's murderous regime of blood and national shame. Now, General Museveni, aided by Mr. Ebyafaayo, the chairperson of the Electoral Commission, other state institutions, and shamelessly some media houses are trying yet again to usurp the will of the people of Uganda. The people of Uganda voted massively for change of leadership from a dictatorship to a democratic government. But Mr. Museveni is deliberately trying to paint a picture that he is in the lead. What a joke. The media houses and other corporate companies and citizens, that the citizens are watching, and all of you who are participating in this conspiracy to defeat the will and victory of the people of Uganda will certainly face the consequences of your actions. Now, let me first of all remind all Ugandans about the illegal, high-handed actions which Museveni and his regime of blood have undertaken to set stage for the worst rigging this country has ever experienced. All of you know the violence and the impunity we have had to endure, the violence and impunity that we've been subjected to on the campaign trail. About 2 weeks ago, the regime arrested my entire campaign team, tortured some of them, and charged many of them in a military court before remanding them to Chitalia prison. These comrades had already taken on critical roles not only on the campaign trail but also supervisory roles on the election day. As the election drew closer, the regime stripped itself further naked. Their intentions were laid bare for everyone to see. First, they switched off social media to prevent Ugandans from communicating as well as following what was going on in the election. Many Ugandans managed to bypass this blockade and started using VPNs to access social media. Ugandans could then share videos of the incidents that were going on in the election. The regime had another problem on its hand. On the 3rd of January, we had announced the U-Vote application. This is the app which we had developed over time. We developed this app to enable us to receive results from across the country in record time. The hub had other functionaries. Citizens would have been able to upload the videos and incidences that were going on in various parts of the country. Knowing that this would expose them to the world, the regime, in an unprecedented manner, moved to switch off the internet completely. And they indeed switched off the internet completely. If they had nothing to hide, why keep the citizens in the dark? Why keep the world in the dark? They denied accreditation to election observers, including the European Union and the United States. Museveni knew what he was planning to do. He could not stand an election being observed by independent poll observers. Local media houses were ordered not to report incidences of vote rigging and violence by the military against the citizens. Yesterday, on election day, as the nation went to the polls and the regime engaged in incredible acts of violence and rigging, without credible election observers, coupled with intimidation or compromised local media, as well as the internet switched off, Museveni had a field day. As we have been saying, a week to the election, the military and the police conducted operations in different districts of the country, where our sub-region and district leaders were arrested and kept in prison without charge. Many of them in the districts of Lira, Moroto, Bunyangabo, Bundibujo, and very many others were arrested, only to be released yesterday evening after election without any charge. Yesterday in Western Uganda and Northern Uganda, many of our polling agents were arrested and many chased away from polling stations. This happened in various counties and sub-counties of all districts in Western Uganda, as well as areas of Northern Uganda. In Kamwenje, Minister Frank Tumwebaze ordered for the arrest of all our polling agents within the district. In Butaleja, in the eastern region, Minister Irene Muloni ordered the guards to beat up all our polling agents and detain them. Let me make this unequivocally clear. Almost in the entire region of Western Uganda and Northern Uganda, there was actually no voting. We received thousands of calls and messages telling us how the election was a complete sham in those areas. In Bunyangabo, in Chitagwenda, in Kabale, in Rubanda, in Barara, in Chiruhura, in Kazo, and Isinjiro, and many other districts, there was no secret ballot in most polling stations. The military gave people pre-ticked ballots. They gave them pre-ticked ballot papers. In other cases, some people were ordered to vote from the desk in the presence of everyone. In Kwania, in Bulambuli, in Karenga, and many other places, some ballot boxes were opened and ballot papers were put in there. In several areas of Isinjiro, Kabale, Mbarara, and the districts of Karamoja, people were told that ballot papers for the president had already been ticked. All they had to do was to vote for their members of parliament only. Good enough, some of these irregularities were recorded on video, although in some areas the military confiscated or destroyed the phones and cameras that were being used to record these grave irregularities. We have so much footage to share with the world. We know that the media was ordered not to cover such incidences, particularly the local media. And indeed, in many cases, media practitioners gave us information and evidence because they knew, and they also still know, that such information would not be allowed on radios and TV stations. We are aware that even as we speak now, soldiers and other operatives are currently deployed in several media houses to ensure that Mr. Museveni's will is effected precisely. At the National Tele Center, Mr. Byabakama is not really in charge. The chairperson of the Electoral Commission is not in charge at all. Several operatives have been deployed there for several days. Ebyafaayo is only there to come and announce what has been given to him by these operatives. No wonder, out of the results that have been announced so far, they are concentrating on areas where it was very easy for Museveni to rig. If you check the data, most districts of Uganda and eastern Uganda, where General Museveni was defeated decisively despite the rigging, they are not being announced. Mr. Musinguzi, the Commissioner General of Uganda Revenue Authority, has been stationed at the National Tally Center, and we are being told that he is directly in charge of the operations to defeat the will of the people of Uganda through manipulating the results. If not for these evil intentions, what role would the Commissioner General of Uganda Revenue Authority be playing in an election? Our people have been asking Mr. Ebyafaayo to tell them where he is getting the results he's announcing from. However, Mr. Ebyafaayo and his team do not know. They don't seem to know where those results are coming from because they are not in charge. All this is intended to dampen the mood of the citizens of Uganda and to create an impression that their effort was in vain. Now, fellow Ugandans, even with all these election irregularities, which we shall share with the world in the coming days when the internet is restored, we secured a comfortable lead against General Museveni. In eastern and central regions, Museveni won very, very few polling stations, even after massive irregularities. In northern Uganda, we won many areas despite the rigging. In western Uganda, like I've already indicated, there was literally no voting, especially in Bunyoro, in Utoro, in Ankole, in Kigezi, and in Rwenzori. Countrymen and women, I am very confident that we defeated the dictator by far. I call upon all Ugandans to reject the blackmail. We have certainly won this election, and we've won it by far. General Museveni and his small clique of oppressors are trying yet again to impose themselves on the people of Uganda. The people of Uganda will and must reject the blatant usurpation of their will and their voice. I want to ask all Ugandans to remain firm and confident that through this election we have spoken, and we have spoken clearly. The dictatorship is failing. Right now, the RDCs, the DSOs, and all other operatives are hunting down our agents and coordinators, trying to take away the declaration forms from them. Several of our phone numbers, including mine and my wife, have been switched off. They've been disconnected illegally. The military is deployed everywhere. The dictatorship is in panic. In the coming hours, I will once again address the nation and hopefully speak about the way forward for our people. But ultimately, we are removing a dictator. I thank you, ladies and gentlemen, for God and my country. Right now, I'm in touch with my team, and we are going to meet and discuss and forge a way forward, which, like I said, I will be in the coming hours communicating to the people of Uganda and the citizens of the world.
Will your plan be hinged on the law, or are you looking at other measures? What are your options?
Right from the beginning, we have stood by the law. We are law-abiding citizens. We are non-violent. We are not criminals. We do everything we do within the law, and we shall do everything we will do within the law. According to the laws of Uganda, it is legal to protest for a right. Therefore, every legal option is on the table for us.
You mentioned the U.S. was among the countries that did not deploy observers in Uganda in relation to our elections.
Well, it is not I'm not in the position to determine whether the US is acting hypocritical or not. It is on how they act that they will be determined. But
continue to give Uganda support.
Well,
You cite all these cases that they should be citing.
among the many moves that we intend to do is to call upon the development partners not to continue acting in a way that makes them appear like their partners in crime with General Museveni. We hope to call upon them not to continue supporting criminality. We share common values of respect for democratic principles, and it is our hope and prayer that the United States and all other development partners will stick by those values, the values that bring us together.
Mr. Wine, how many polling stations were your agents able to access? When you say that the election has been stolen, what numbers are you working with? Can you give us some specifics, something to work with?
As you are all aware, the internet has been completely shut down. However, we have been and continue to communicate with our teams, those that have phone numbers that have not been illegally disconnected, and in the coming hours we should be able to give a comprehensive report and update on the same. Uganda.
This program is brought to you by Crown Entertainment Uganda. Subscribe to Crown Entertainment UG on YouTube and Facebook. Crown Entertainment Uganda, it's ever entertainment.
This program is brought to you by Crown Entertainment Uganda. Subscribe to Crown Entertainment UG on YouTube channel and Facebook. Crown Entertainment Uganda, it is ever entertainment.
Ebyafaayo ku Ebyafaayo TV is brought to you by Joyb Media Group. Joyb Media Group, quality first. Subscribe to Joyb Media channel on Facebook and YouTube. Joyb Media Group, quality first.